Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Oxcord Podcast presented by Boot Crew Media and sponsored by Maker's Mark. I am your host, Cruz Oxenrider. As always, joined by the co-host, Nikki P, rocking a South Carolina hat today.
Beamer ball.
Yeah.
Beamer ball.
The intern and the moderator, Bond Snow. And, of course, Wyatt is in the cave. Boys, happy Monday. Another week of college football and NFL in the books. Halfway through the season already, and it's kind of creeping up on us.
Yeah, well, I think even the amount of depression that courses through my body thinking that football is getting close to ending cannot even come close to being a Texas A&M fan right now. How do you even go on living being a fan of that football program?
You don't. Right. You drink.
We'll start with that game since we're talking about Beamer ball.
Beamer ball.
Carolina,
Beamer ball.
Texas A&M. South Carolina pulls out the dub, 30-24. Boys,
it should not have been that close, by the way. I don't know did you guys watch that game at all?
I did. Yes.
It should not have been that close. Like they came out. I want to say it was a 17-3 lead. They kind of started laying an egg in the middle. Obviously, Alexa is a South Carolina fan, so we were following it pretty closely. But I thought A&M was actually going to be able to come back in that game. But man, that offense, Jimbo Fisher, oof, 3 and 4. Their buyout's $95 million, man, for 3 and 4. I don't know. I don't know what you do with that. I really don't.
This has been probably, I have to say, there have been a lot of disappointments this year in college football. And over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of disappointments. This may be the biggest fraud team I would say in the college football playoff era. This team was such a fraud. They were overrated coming in. I said this too, and I'll probably post this clip later this week. I said during our SEC West preview show, Texas A&M would be lucky to go 7-5 because I don't think
they come in ranked number 6.
They came in ranked number 6, and I looked at this team, and I looked at this roster, and I look at everyone that they lost last year, and I just said, this team played the game of their life against Alabama, and everything else will be a letdown. And what has happened this year? They lose week 2 against Appalachian State. Then you come around, you get blown out by Mississippi State. I will give them this. They hung it. It took 4 turnovers and 2 missed field goals and a backup quarterback and Bryce Young not playing to keep it a game against Alabama. And then you go and you get the doors blown off you against South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this team is not good.
First time in program history they lost to South Carolina. That was the first time that South Carolina got a win on that one.
I mean, they've lost 3 in a row. Mississippi State, Bama, and South Carolina. I mean, it took a crazy missed field goal and a scoop and score to be Arkansas. Like, really, realistically, they should have lost 4 games in a row. This team is just not good. Jimbo Fisher is once again proving that he is the most overrated coach in America. And I saw something today, and I actually think it's actually offensive to Dabo Swinney because it basically said Dabo Swinney and Jimbo Fisher are the same because they need a generational quarterback to win a championship. And I would say this, Dabo Swinney is, I think, twice the coach Jimbo Fisher is.
I agree, man. I mean, like the talent that A&M has, I mean, currently right now, I wouldn't say they're on par with any of the top tier teams in the SEC. Now, they had a great recruiting class, which I feel, I guess, is why all the hype came into the season with them.
Yeah.
But obviously none of those guys, if anything, they're playing very minuscule snaps, not really important football. I mean, but they're a bad team and they're not very talented. And on top of that,
they're poorly coached.
Even they're poorly coached. That's a great point because even not a great talented team can be coached into winning football. I mean, You look at anybody like South Carolina, I wouldn't just go and sit there and say they're an extremely talented team. And I'm not saying Coach Beamer is a world beater, but I mean, he's certainly a better coach in my eyes than Jimbo Fisher. I mean, that contract that he 10 years, $100 million, I want to say is what it was, right? Something like that.
Something ridiculous, yeah.
It was something crazy. And for him to negotiate that with Texas A&M is one of the biggest heists in college football history.
So if I read you the stats of this game, it screams Texas A&M should have won this game. listen to this. Spencer Rattler, 12 of 25 for 168 yards, no touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
They got outgained by over 100 yards. Texas A&M had 398 yards of total offense. South Carolina only had 286. They both had 2 turnovers. Texas A&M had 23 first downs, and South Carolina only having 13 first downs. And Texas A&M won the time of possession by about 8 minutes.
I mean, to me, that's a 13-point win for A&M right there.
That's 100%. This game should have never been close. Now, I will say this. South Carolina takes the opening kickoff all the way back, gets the crowd in it. Like, it's hype. It's 17-3 after the first, and you're like, what is happening?
Yo, that stadium, not kidding, one of the best in the country when it's riding. I mean, like, those people go freaking ballistic.
Sandstorm's electric. It is. There's no getting around it. But, I mean, this game, like, on paper, you look at it like, oh, A&M won by 2 touchdowns. No, they're just not a good team, and I'm tired of this whole like I don't know what A&M is. I'm tired of the A&M hype. Like I said, I am so glad that I hit A&M being a 7-5 team right on the head, because
I would have given them too much credit too, because there's a realistic chance they don't be bowl eligible this year.
I know. So it's nuts to say. I'm like, they have to be the biggest disappointment of the college football season. I don't think there's any way around it. They are the biggest frauds in the country. And in fact, okay, the rest of their schedule, and so like, because obviously you have to win 6 games to get into a bowl. You have Ole Miss this weekend. Ole Miss is coming off of an embarrassing loss to LSU. You don't think they're going to want to come in and kick
they're going to run it up, dude.
Yeah. Then you get Florida, who is a team that is on the rise, but they're still a couple years away. But they can score points. Like,
you're going to get them after they get their ass kicked against Georgia this week, so they're going to want to come in and play hard.
And then here's the other kicker, and this game is going to be like the mid-off at Auburn in November. And look, if Auburn has a chance to make a bowl game, and they have a chance to like actually like win 6 games, I think Auburn has a legit shot to win this game, because Tank Bigsby is a good running back, and you can run on Texas A&M, and then you end the season with UMass. That'll be a win. And then LSU, who has finally started to figure it out, and now they're on a huge high, and they actually have a chance to win the SEC West next week against Alabama. So, yeah, they might be lucky in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games to win maybe 2 of them. And then that leaves you at 5 and 7. You have to fire Jimbo Fisher.
I think they're already on I think that's already on the table right now. I think there's some talks about
$95 million buyout though.
Well, here's the other thing too, right? So most coaches in their contract, the buyout decreases based on their salary at their next job.
Yeah.
Jimbo doesn't have that. It is $95 million where he goes and coaches at USC. I'm just making this up the next day for $10 million a year.
So hypothetically, and I kind of want to know, like, who would you even call to bring in to coach A&M? Because, dude, they have so much money and facilities and recruiting classes like coming in. Hell, half of these kids might even transfer after this season because they're seeing how big of a train wreck.
Well, so that's what I was actually going to ask you is, like, have you heard anything about like these kids? They brought in generational class last year. A lot of these guys, man, they might leave. They might transfer out. I mean, with obviously the transfer rule, they go and play somewhere else the next year.
Yeah, I could see it. I don't know who could come in and fix this. Like, I mean, you can say the names like Matt Rule. I'm sure there's some other candidates that are up for jobs too. Mike Gundy would be an interesting one because he's always rumored to an SEC job. I don't think he'd leave Oklahoma State to go coach A&M when he's got a good thing going at Oklahoma State. But like, Lane Kiffin's not leaving. So like, who do you call? I don't know. Deion Sanders, I don't think would touch this job. You would have to settle for someone. You would have to. All right, Bond, what's next?
Let's stick in the SEC West. We'll touch on our game since it's going to be a little bit longer. Alabama, Miss State, 30-6, Alabama.
Eli Rick show, man. Rick show.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Look, this game was not sexy. This game was – I don't even think this game was really even fun to watch. But Eli Ricks finally has arrived, and I think he's finally figured it out. And I think a lot of things went into Eli Ricks. One, he got hurt. He's a spring ball transfer. Nick Saban has a very complicated defensive scheme.
Game?
No, yeah. He's played. Hasn't he played?
His first start. He's played.
First start.
Yeah, his
Correct.
first start. And I think too, this game was good for him. I think he got his confidence back. I mean, you look at him playing and he's having fun. He's dominating. Like
he had 10 targets and only allowed one
he's
catch.
Shut down. And he's our cornerback too right now. And then it's like, okay, you pair him with Kool-Aid and you're like, oh my God. Because
Kool-Aid's an All-American right now.
Kool-Aid's had a fantastic year. Kool-Aid has played himself into, he could be a first round pick next year as a junior.
Correct. Yeah.
And same with Ricks. If Ricks was going to come back at one point, I'm glad he's coming in after a loss, getting his chance to play, and then playing an offense that is known for throwing the football everywhere. And they dominated on defense. I mean, you hold Mississippi State to only 231 yards passing on 60 attempts, by the way. Not just like a couple of yards,
absurd.
60 attempts. And you hold them to 6 points, which literally came down to 2 seconds left in the game.
Should have been a shutout.
Basically a shutout. I don't care.
And honestly,
it's a garbage time touchdown.
You go back and look at the play. If the freshman cornerback doesn't line up incorrectly,
it was pass interference.
Well, let's just say that was pass interference. I think it was kind of a ghost call. But then you get it on the 2-yard line with 2 seconds left. I mean, the guy lines up incorrectly. He's right there if he's in this proper position to stop the play. So, I mean, you're looking at a game that should have been a shutout. It pretty much was. But going back to Eli Ricks, man, I mean, Coach Leach went after him. First 2 plays go right at him, and he gets a run stop and a pass breakup. Yeah. So, from the jump, this guy is showing his star power. And, he's one of those guys, obviously, he played really, really well at LSU, and he was a great player for them. He's come now into Alabama. I hope he keeps that starting job. I think he's earned that starting job over Terrion Arnold right now. Mm-hmm. But you're looking at a guy that can be another leader on that defense, along with Henry To'oTo'o and Will Anderson. And you get another guy like that in there, this defense is going to be a problem. I think it's going to be mainly now, and it's going to be that question mark for Alabama this whole year is, can they get out of their own way? Yeah. Can they just go out there and play ball like they're supposed to? And that's from coordinators down. So it's going to be Pete Carroll and his defense being able to get lined up correctly and make the proper adjustments for every game. I don't think there's an offense out there. I think if you rematch with Tennessee with Eli Ricks on that Hyatt kid, that game goes completely different.
Well, yeah, and I was thinking about that too. Is that the Kool-Aid? I don't understand why Kool-Aid was not on him the entire game. After the first 3, Pete, come on. I mean, clearly it's not working. But
I mean, to go in on that, and I don't think we really got a chance. Maybe I was out for that week or something. But if you have a guy that is on fire, and he might not even be their best guy. I think he is now.
He's not, because Cedric Tillman hasn't played, and he's their best wide receiver in the country, or not the country, but on the team, and he is one of the best wide receivers in the country.
But if you have your best guy not being covered by your best guy, if you have your best on best and you get beat, I'm okay with that. Yeah. Okay, if Kool-Aid's on him and he torches us for 5 touchdowns, I'm okay with that. But if we got a guy, if I got to watch Hyatt go out there and burn someone game or play after play after play after play, it's the same plays. Yeah, he was just deep. It wasn't even like he just made a big play. It was a great throw from Hooker, and he just beat the guy deep. I mean, I don't get the adjustment there. But I mean, you get Eli Ricks out there, you got Kool-Aid out there. That's a completely different matchup. So I think Eli Ricks might be the key to this. If he's in the starting role now, I think we're going to be good.
I think he's solidified himself as it. We have a bye week this week, so there's time to get readjusted. I think this defense is going to finally start to come into its own, which generally it does after a Bama loss. Generally, they get it together. They figure it out. Yes, they bend, but they generally hold up. Like Arkansas last year, that game was just weird. It was just a weird game. Traylon Burks is a freak. And then And then Auburn, they shut them down. They played well against Georgia. They played well against Cincinnati. Like they figured it out. So I think the same thing's going to happen here. But I can't go this episode without saying I am so sick of Bill O'Brien and his play calling and how this offense is disgustingly boring with maybe the greatest college quarterback that we may. Well, let me say that
Mississippi State was lining up in gaps that they knew we were going to run through before we even hiked the ball. That's how predictable Bill O'Brien's offense is.
Okay, look, the first Bryce Young touchdown pass was like Madden stuff. I mean, that was insane. The way
he had like 15 seconds of throw time.
It's insane. And then Gibbs ripped off a big run. But I mean, this offense is just so pedestrian for the talent that we have. I mean, Nick, do you know how many yards of offense that we had?
I put it in the 300s.
290.
Yeah.
And do you know how many yards Mississippi State had?
Well, you
293. 293. And we won by 24. And we did not score a single touchdown in the second half. It was 24-0 at halftime. And I'm like, all right, this is good. But just boring. Like
that's the kind of game that you would expect Alabama to drop 50. And it's like when are we just going to realize that Bryce Young and Gibbs and finally the wide receivers are starting to step? Like Ja'Cory Brooks is great, but like when are we going to realize like we are literally playing with like one hand tied behind our back because of Bill O'Brien and this play calling? And honestly, if he has a job with us next year, with Jalen or Ty coming in, we might be in trouble.
We might be in trouble.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. I know that we won, and I know I shouldn't complain, but I'm like, I watched that game, and I'm just like, it feels like we're only up by 7. The way we played.
Yeah, no, and I agree because like the play calling gets so conservative, and I don't. The other thing with him, man, is like, you come out with Sark and Lane Kiffin, right? They are offensive geniuses, and to compare them to Bill O'Brien would be like comparing me to Will Anderson. You just can't, you know what I mean? But, you have all week to script plays. You script your first drive. Everyone does that. That is a very well-known thing.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you the last time we had a really well-scripted drive on the first play, on the first drive coming on, into the game or coming out of halftime. Like they always seem to just be very lackluster, very bland, very boring, very conservative for no reason at all. Yeah. I mean, it's a damn wonder we scored 49 against Tennessee. It's probably because we had to.
Well, it's because of how great Bryce and Gibbs played.
Right.
That is 100% the reason why. And if you take away Dallas Turner also getting a scoop and score. So it wasn't just that. I mean, it's embarrassing the fact that, Nick, we had 29 rushing yards on 27 attempts. We averaged 1.1 yards per rush with a stable of 5-star running backs. That is embarrassing. The only
Jahmyr Gibbs, who should probably be in the Heisman conversation right now.
Well, he ripped off a 20-yard run, and that gave him 37. But he had 10 carries. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And so, but I will say the only positive out of this game, there are 2 positives out of this game. One, Eli Rex, it looks fantastic, and I'm glad he's healthy, and I'm glad he's getting his confidence back, and I'm glad he's in our starting lineup. And then we only have 3 penalties on the night, one coming on like the second last play of the game. So like 3 penalties for 20 yards. That's big. That's big, especially coming off of like historically one of the worst like flag games of all time. But again, just fire Bill O'Brien into the sun. All right.
Are we going to be talking LSU Ole Miss?
Yeah, yes, we're about to now.
We're about to round that out, or round out the SEC West with LSU Ole Miss. And before you all go at it, this is the first game in 16 games. So they had a 15-game streak of not allowing 500 yards of offense. Ole Miss, they allowed exactly 500. They got beat on the first down count by 11, 35-24. Their third down efficiency was 4 of 13 versus 6 and 11 for LSU. This was also the same crew that refed Tennessee, Alabama, and the Auburn game that they got suspended after. And I believe this was one of their most penalized games as well, with 10 penalties for
Ole Miss.
111 yards.
Yeah.
But LSU also having 8 penalties or 71 yards as well. This game was poorly officiated. For
These people need to let them play. Okay, you got to call offsides, you got to call false starts, but some of the calls they make are like, okay, at what point are you like? I get protect the QB, protects defenseless people, but
you can't even argue that. You can't even say that with some of these lack of calls. At some point,
just let them play,
right?
And they're not consistent in their calling either.
No, it's
and that goes into refereeing across the entire league, because Bryce Young gets, it benefited us, but he gets a roughing the passer call where, it looks like my 8-year-old niece pushed him on the playground. That's how soft it was.
I know.
So that's 15.
We're talking about that one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but Bryce gets fucking headbutted by a 300-pound defensive end, and it's nothing. It's league wide. It's so inconsistent, and then very specifically this squad, for some reason, cannot figure it out. I don't know what it is.
They're gonna have to look into this. It's embarrassing. Look, I went and watched the game with a bunch of LSU people, and I had no dog in the fight. And I'm watching this game, and I'm like, this is embarrassing. I'm like, this is just a bad, a poorly called game. But I want to focus on the positive of this game. This was a huge
game for LSU.
Huge game for LSU, because this really made or break their season. LSU starts the year off losing on a blocked extra point, and then they rebound, they go well, then they get blown out by Tennessee, and then they've had some tough games, they beat Florida, they beat Mississippi State, and now, Nick, they're an Alabama upset away from playing in the SEC championship game in Atlanta. LSU is right now currently, I would say, the second best team in the SEC West. And did I not call that coming into the season? Did I not say Jaden Daniels was him?
You did. Yeah. I'll eat crow on this. I said they were going to go 5-7, and I'm wrong. As usual.
Daniels, 21 of 28, 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. What really more can you ask out of a guy?
And then you have another 121 on the ground and 3 more touchdowns on the ground. LSU,
they had more than that. They had 252 total rushing yards.
Oh no, they ran all over Ole Miss, but that's just Jaden Daniels right there, his stats on the ground.
Oh right, yeah,
he is fantastic, and Brian Kelly is just like, you know what, I need to let this kid do his own thing, because it clearly works. He is fantastic at running the RPO. He's fantastic at running the read option, and he may not have the best arm, but it's good enough to win you a football game. That's what I'm worried about going into this Alabama game is look, Hendon Hooker has a fantastic arm, but he can run. Jaden Daniels is a way better runner than Hendon Hooker is. And quarterbacks that can run like this have been known to give Alabama defense troubles. And if you're just good enough to throw it, that's where it can cause. Now, Eli Ricks and Kool-Aid are going to have their hands full, because LSU has some studs at wide receiver. The running back wise, I think LSU has some studs, but LSU has quietly become one of the most dangerous teams in college football, and they ran into a buzzsaw that was Ole Miss. And look, Ole Miss, we've kind of been like, what are they? Are they really this good, or are we just saying this just because they're undefeated? They got exposed. They had, this game was 17-3. It looked like a blowout in the making. And then LSU just, I don't know what hit them, but man, in the fourth quarter, you scored 21 points to run away with this game. Hats off to the Tigers, man. This Bama LSU game went from possibly being a noon kickoff to now being a night game in Death Valley.
Right. Yeah. And a great stat, coming out of that is, Bama tends to fare well in Baton Rouge during night games. I believe they've only lost 1 game.
Nick Saban fares well.
And Nick Saban was.
Yes. So when he beat us at night game when he coached LSU, he's won twice there since with us. And then so Nick Saban is 3-4 in Death Valley, or 3-3 in Death Valley at night games. And then I believe we are 2-4, but one of the losses came from Don Shula, which doesn't count.
Yeah, here's your stat right here. Since 1970, LSU has beaten Alabama in Baton Rouge 4 times out of 26 meetings. Of those 4 times, only 2 were under the lights, quote unquote. Saban coached LSU for 2 of those, and Alabama for another in 2010. The other one was Les Miles versus Mike Shula in 2006.
Yeah. Look,
all right, let's move on to Clemson Syracuse. Give you guys a stat rundown. Clemson sneaks away 6-point win, 4 turnovers, 450 total yards of offense, but Syracuse just could not get it done on third down. 3-11 on third down efficiency. Clemson ran 85 total plays on offense to Syracuse's 54. Syracuse punted the ball 7 times.
Yeah, this is another one of those you can kind of look back and see maybe a beneficial call goes to Clemson there at the end. I don't think Clemson is good enough or was good enough to win this game outright against Syracuse. I think Syracuse actually played this game very, very well considering all the stats you just gave. But I mean, DJU after having 2-3 good weeks, I mean, just kind of fell. 13 of 2,138 yards, 2 picks. Like, I ain't gonna get it done at the
Clemson dominated the ground game, 293 rushing yards to Syracuse's 124, only 157 through the air for Clemson to Syracuse's 167.
Will Shipley's legit.
Yeah, Will Shipley is good, and the reason why, and I was watching this game too, and Syracuse, man, just they had this game like they had it, and they
4 different times.
They choked it. 4 turnovers, and you can't win.
You got it in your own way. And the reason why Will Shipley was able to eat towards the end was when you take DJ out of the game, then Cade Klubnik, the freshman, is known for having a good arm and is able to bomb it down the field. With DJ, he doesn't have a good arm, and 85% of the time it's going to be a run play. So Syracuse was stacking the box. They were stopping the run. They were making Will Shipley earn his yards. When Cade comes in, now you actually have to account for the passing game, and that's exactly what they did, and that's why the box wasn't nearly as loaded. Will Shipley breaks off that 50-yard run that really kind of broke the game for them, and it kind of took the life out of Syracuse. I mean, Clemson had a 17-point fourth quarter to win this game, and they shut Syracuse out. It was rough, man. I was rooting for the Orange. They've been a really fun story all year. They had this game. They really did, and I'm kind of bummed that again Clemson escapes, and this is, and
they're going to end up meeting again in the ACC championship. I
mean, if that's the case, I'm all for it. But my thing is that if you're Syracuse, you could win. You have this game, like you have it. But now actually they can't even meet in the ACC championship game because they're in the same freaking division, so they can't even meet.
Why are they in the ACC Coastal?
No, they're the Atlantic.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So right now, Clemson, if the season ends tomorrow, they're scheduled to play UNC, which UNC 6-1 and they're 3-0 in the conference. They're actually quietly good right now. But I will give Clemson this: they beaten Syracuse, they beat Wake Forest, they beat Florida State, and they beat NC State. I will give them that. They've gone through that stretch, and have they looked good doing it? No, not at all. In fact,
they never do though. They never do look good.
But they've done they deserve to be in the playoffs if they make it undefeated. They do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Run NC. Sure. This is the best the ACC has been in years, and you go through it like this. They have some games left though. They have Notre Dame coming up. They have Miami, which they should win that game.
Notre Dame is not good.
I know they're not good, but it's at Notre Dame and it's a night game. And the last time that Clemson got picked off in the regular season, when they were riding high against DJ, so we don't know if maybe DJ is going to start this week or what's going to happen. But there's, they have a week to figure it out. They have a bye week this week, and then you end the season at South Carolina, which South Carolina team are we going to get? Are we going to get the one that plays against Kentucky and Texas A&M really well, or are we going to get the ones that get blown out by Georgia? So
yeah.
This Clemson team is frustrating, but they've done everything they've needed to do.
Yeah.
And you can't fault them for it.
I think it's the same argument that you would have if Alabama makes the playoff. It's
I couldn't agree more.
They've been frustrating to watch. A lot of people have, an argument to say that Alabama is 3 plays away from having 3 losses right now, which I think you can make that argument. You know what I mean? So, I mean, anybody that's criticizing Clemson, I think Alabama probably plays a harder schedule than them, but I think that same argument could be made about Alabama this year. So,
yeah, right. I mean, it's true. All right,
let's move on to our last game, UCLA, Oregon. Give you guys a stat rundown. Offensive shootout this week. 545 total yards, Oregon, 448 UCLA. UCLA did not punt the ball a single time. Both teams went 50% on third down, and UCLA had 1 interception.
This game was so much fun to watch.
This game was insane. I took a few things away from this game. One, I will give credit where credit is due. Bo Nix played a hell of a game.
5 touchdown game. Nuts.
He looked fantastic.
Is Auburn sitting there?
They're kicking
questioning everything there
because they're kicking themselves in the foot. Like Auburn. You know what's crazy, Nick, is that like when I watch Auburn this year, they actually have guys, but they're just so bad at quarterback where it does not matter. Like they have I think this too. They would have beaten LSU because they had a 17-point lead against LSU.
Yep.
I think they give Penn State a little bit more run for their money. I think they take care of business against Missouri where they didn't have to worry about miracles happening. Like Bo Nix is, after having an awful game against Georgia in week 1, you would never know that team played this year. Like that looked like a team from like years ago. Like this Oregon team has figured it out. They're currently 6-1, ranked number 10 in the country. And now I think they were number 7. This is when they were ranked yesterday or on Saturday. And you go in and you beat a UCLA team who many people thought was like, okay, this is the Pac-12's best chance to get a team in the playoffs. And they kind of embarrassed them. Like this score is a lot closer than it should have been. Like UCLA kind of like made a little bit of a push at the end, but this game was never in doubt after the second quarter.
Do you think Oregon has an argument to be made? 1 loss Pac-12 champion.
Yes.
With that loss being so far long ago, week 1.
It was week 1. Because it was week 1.
I mean, it's not like we're talking about an October, November loss where they got blown out. I mean, this is a week 1. They figured it out. They've gone 11-0 in the last 11. I think you have to have an argument that they deserve to be in the playoff with that. I think they would get in over like an SEC runner-up. That's 1 loss.
I 100% think they would. Okay, so look, at the time of playing them, they played the number 3 team in the country, and they got embarrassed. Yeah. They did. There's no getting around that. But Georgia right now is currently the number 1 team in the country at week 1. You beat, at the time, the number 12 team in the country in BYU. You just beat the number 9 team in the country. You still have a game against Utah. And then you play a Pac-12 championship game against USC. That is huge. If you win that, if you win out, and you're playing the way you're playing,
it's hard to keep them out.
It's hard to keep you out. Even if we go through that crazy scenario where it's like Georgia, Tennessee, Bama, all 1 losses. Like if you have Bama,
you have to go Oregon, and which I would say in a head-to-head, all 3 of the SEC teams probably beat Oregon in a head-to-head matchup. But I mean, with that resume, I don't know how you keep them out. Plus, I mean, the committee's going to sit there and be like, we got to find a way to get the Pac-12 in because it's been so many years that they haven't. This is going to be their best argument to get in. I think they'll put them in.
Yeah. All right, Bond, what's next?
All right, let's move to our NFL slate. But first, Cruz, who are you taking tonight? We got Bears, Patriots. Patriots are favored by 8.5.
You know I'm going with my boy Mackie Jones and Damian Harris. They're back on the scene. They're healthy. And you know that I'm going to be using the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. The NFL season is halfway over. That's painful to say. And honestly, the way my Saints have played, I'm kind of glad. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Put $10 on any game and win $200 in free bets if your team wins. You can't miss out on this opportunity. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. Use promo code BOOT. That's BOOT. Put $10 down on any game. Win $200 in free bets. That's the DraftKings Sportsbook app, an official sponsor of the Oxford Podcast.
All right. We're going to open with Thursday night's matchup, the Saints versus the Cardinals. I'm going to tell you guys a stat Andy Dalton, 30 for 47 for 361 yards, and the Cardinals still won. 4 touchdowns,
2 pick sixes.
3
pick sixes, man.
interceptions, 2 pick sixes. But now, when I tell you guys the rest of the stats, Saints had 494 total yards offense. The Cardinals had 326. You guys won the first down race, 25-21. Had a better third down efficiency, 6 of 13 to 3 of 10.
Oh my
Ran
God.
more total plays, had less time of possession, punted twice to the Cardinals 4 times.
Yep.
But you had 3 interceptions and 2 pick sixes.
Yeah,
it's just, you're not going to win a game when you throw 2 back to back as well. I mean, I get, honestly, you got to give credit to New Orleans for fighting back after that. I mean, that's at this point that team could roll over and die on the field, but they didn't.
Andy Dalton having the balls to come back after throwing 2 pick sixes and still go 30 of 47 for 361 yards is insane. It's Andy Dalton.
Yeah. Well, look, here's the thing: is that
Red Rifle, man.
We have it's just a weird here, man. And it's like we're playing with Traquan Smith. Chris Olave came back, which he had a fantastic game, and I'm glad he's healthy. And Marquez Callaway. The first interception that Andy threw was in the red zone. Worst case, we walk out of that with 3. We end up leaving with nothing. That was a backbreaker. The first pick 6 was not even on Andy Dalton. That was right through Marquez Callaway's hands. The second one was all Andy. Like, he just did not see Isaiah Simmons. And you go back-to-back drives with pick 6s. It's rough. We had our opportunity to make this a game, win a game, get back into it. But we just cannot get out of our own way. And unfortunately, it costs us so many games this year and injuries as well. But I will say this, though. The NFC South is by far the worst division in football this year, where 8 or 9 wins will get you into the playoffs. Yeah. And we have a stretch of games coming up that I'm deeply worried about. But we play Vegas this week. Vegas is not that good either. They're kind of a head case too. We play in New Orleans day before Halloween. It's going to be rowdy. I'm excited. If we win this game, I feel like we can make a run to win enough games to win this division, because Tampa Bay.
Don't do that to yourself.
No, I am. I'm doing it. I'm saying there is a legitimate shot, because we still have a game with Tampa, still have a game with Atlanta, and we still have a game with Carolina.
Carolina looks like world beaters, man. I mean, like,
I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, I think this division is gonna come down to the last week of the season.
Yeah, probably. It's gonna be a mid-off. I mean, who's gonna suck the least, essentially?
Pretty much.
I think your issue is you got to get healthy, man. You got to get Michael Thomas back. You got to get. I mean, even Alvin Kamara, who's been great the last couple of weeks, still banged up a little bit.
And Jameis Winston are both slated to come back this week.
Yep. Yeah, so if they come back, now they're coming back, but are they healthy? You know what I mean? Like, Jameis played.
Michael Thomas they wanted to start, or they were looking to start Michael Thomas last week. But
it was a short week.
They didn't. So
and Chris
they wanted
Olave
to rest
came
him
back
another week. Chris Olave's back, put up 20.82 points on NFL Fantasy for me, I think.
Look, AK is...
I am 100%.
He's the only reason that you're worth a damn. I mean,
yeah, really. I am 100% off the Romeo Dobbs O'Roy train. It's Chris Olave.
It's Chris Olave now.
I think
with unfortunately Breece Hall getting hurt, tearing his ACL, which I hate hearing that. I mean, that sucks. It really does. But like, I think right now, how can you not say that Chris Olave is a rookie of the year?
I don't know. Like, dude came out, and I think, let me double check this once the NFL Fantasy app loads, but he is wide receiver 24.
Yeah, and he's missed time. So
he's missed 2 games, I believe, right? Yeah.
Yep. So he missed a concussion.
Yeah. So I mean, he's looked fantastic. He's becoming reliable. He runs great routes. And he's doing it right now against teams' cornerback ones, because he's their guy.
He's the one been on the field.
So like, if he gets matchups with Michael Thomas or even Jarvis Landry coming back, he might be getting matchups against cornerback 2s and 3s. I mean, you go out, have 7 catches, 106 yards. I mean, and Andy clearly trusts him. So as a rookie, that's going to be huge. Now, this game was frustrating. But like, I didn't expect to win this game with as many injuries as we have. No more Sean Lattimore against DeAndre Hopkins. That was big.
I would just like to state for the record, Cruz told me to take Cardinals -3.
Yep.
Nick told me to take Saints +3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Cruz won me $30.
You're welcome, dude. I know my team. It's frustrating. So,
fair.
but yeah, this whole division is shit. There's
it's
opportunity.
wide open. I mean, it's shit, but it's wide open.
It is,
which
wide
is
open.
actually going to be kind of fun. Like this NFL division. Like, it's great that Tom Brady sucks, because it would not be fun to watch the NFC South if Tom Brady ended up being like 12-5.
He really threw his marriage away to go 3-4.
I mean, right now, Atlanta and Tampa are tied for first, and Carolina and New Orleans are tied for second. Like, it's
tied for third, but
whatever,
yeah.
You know what I mean. But it's a mess right now. It's bad. But what I look at it is like, okay, Tampa Bay is just, I think they've just fallen off a cliff.
Hold on, let's transition over to Panthers Bucks.
Yeah,
since we're getting into the Tom Brady train.
Yes.
Panthers Bucks 21-3 Panthers. I had the Falcons queued up for stats, so give me a second and I'll give you stats on the Bucks game.
Nick, I mean,
I got you. I mean, Tom Brady 32 or 49, 290 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks. I mean, he looks so out of sync with those guys out there. I mean, it looks like a guy that doesn't come to practice, which, I mean, there have been reports coming out that he takes days off. He has his veteran days on Wednesdays. He comes in for, walkthroughs on Thursdays, or I'm sorry, he comes in for practice Thursday, walkthrough Friday, is off on Saturday. But I mean, all of like the weird, they're good throws. I would say that they're good throws, but he's not connecting with his wide receivers like he did in previous years at Tampa Bay, and even obviously at New England, where he was an absolute stud. He was automatic. But I mean, again, we said this last week. I mean, when was the last time Tom Brady had a chance to win the game on the 2-yard line twice and went 0-2 in those games? I mean, like, he's just out of sync with it.
The biggest stat for me that sticks out, Carolina had 173 rushing yards. The same week they trade C-Mac to the 49ers.
Are you going with CMC is trash?
No, I'm just saying they trade arguably one of the best. Granted, he can't stay healthy; he's made of glass. But one of the premier running backs in the league away from your franchise, and then put up almost 200 rushing yards.
But it's almost like it fits the script. Like you lose Matt Rule, and then you trade arguably one of the best running backs your franchise has ever had. And you come out, you're playing against Tom Brady in a division game where no one expects you to win. And you come out and you kick the crap out of them. Like this.
That 21-3 really doesn't even show how much of a bad game that was. That game was never close.
No, it wasn't. I mean, so Mike Evans drops maybe the easiest touchdown of his career.
Not even drops. He throws that ball away.
It was insane, and that really set the tone for this game. PJ Walker, shout out to him, man. He's an XFL guy.
Carolina has come out and said that PJ Walker has earned the starting job,
as he should have. You just outplayed Tom Brady. You're an undrafted XFL guy out of Temple, and you just beat arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. Granted, I know he's 45, but still. It's not like Tom Brady went like 20%. Like he completed 32 passes, but only got 290 yards out of it. Like this team isn't good. You can't run the ball. Leonard Fournette is a shell of himself. And then it just seems like this team just doesn't want to work. Like this team just doesn't feel like a team.
They don't have leadership, man.
They lost Gronk, and I think that might be the biggest one. Outside of Tom Brady, Tom Brady needs an enforcer on that offense, and he doesn't have one.
I think a lot of it has to do too with there just seems to be no like discipline on this team. This team is like, it almost seems split. Like Bruce Arians was the glue keeping this team together. And it seems like ever since Todd Bowles took over, and Todd Bowles, he had one decent year in New York, but he's been a mediocre head coach and is starting to show with a team as talented. There's no reason this team should be 3-4. There's no reason that you should lose.
Not.
There's no reason this team should be losing 21-3 against a team without a head coach or a starting quarterback or a team that just traded away two of their best players. Like this team,
they didn't trade away Robbie Anderson. Did they trade Robbie Anderson?
They did. They did trade Robbie.
Okay,
Anderson.
they traded. Okay.
This team is broken.
Well, so speaking of the Robbie Anderson trade, my resident Charlotte expert said that he was the only reason that he was still in Charlotte was because he was Matt Rule's guy.
Yeah, he was. He was a Temple guy.
And so as soon as Matt Rule was gone, and then he started getting into arguments with coaches, they were like, "Okay, yeah, you're out of here."
Yeah, it's nuts, man. This, and then again, it just goes into this division where it's like, all right, what team is going to go on a run like that? Like that's really good. This is really what's going to come down to it. Is what
even a run? It's like what team is going to win just 2 games in a row that's going to solidify themselves in the lead? Like I just don't see Tom Brady being able to bounce back with the way this team's trending downward. I mean, unless there's going to have a day of reckoning is going to have to happen in that locker room in order to salvage this season.
Well, it's going to be interesting. So the Thursday night matchup is Baltimore at Tampa. Like everything I've seen, Baltimore's going to blow Tampa out.
Should be. Yeah.
Should be.
Well, J.K. Dobbins went down.
Yes, that is true.
Still got Lamar Jackson.
Still got Lamar Jackson.
The Gus Bus is back in town.
Yeah.
And we'll get into this more on the preview show, but
yeah. And then Carolina and Atlanta play this week. That's gonna split it up. And then New Orleans plays an underachieving Vegas team. So I mean, something's gonna give eventually, right?
True.
It has to. All right. So Nick, I want to talk on your game now.
Yeah. Sure,
Let's round out the NFC South. We have Falcons versus Bengals, 35-17 Bengals. People are going to use this as Joe Burrow is back. However, Atlanta was down, 6 DBs?
Yeah. I mean, we were playing with the practice team on defense and still held,
Granted, y'all gave up 459 passing yards. Burrow had 481 yards, 3 touchdowns. I just don't want to push the narrative that Burrow is back.
But only gave up 7 points in the second half. I mean, you take away that first half where he lit us up. I mean, we're right there in that game, and not only that, but the
defense
made plays when it counted.
Chase. It was
defense made plays when it counted, though. That's the thing. It's
your team got Jamar chased just like mine did the week before.
After Jamar Chase went down, y'all held him to 7 points.
Yes.
Right. And that's football, man. I mean, that's you take advantage of your thing. Yeah. So I mean. And not only that, this team goes down 21-0. I want to say 28-0. They bounce back, come roaring back, make it 28-17. Defense gets a turnover right before half. We go 17-28 going into the half. I mean, and then you're sitting there like, man, okay, let's get this offense rolling a little bit. We're in this game now. We kind of come out flat. I think people are kind of calling for Desmond Ridder now. I'm not one of those guys. I'm a big Marcus Mariota guy. I think he's like a big culture guy there. I think he's great for the locker room. He's playing for his career right now. I mean, truly, if he comes up there and lays a duck with Atlanta, he probably isn't making a squad after his contract runs out. So,
for clarity, there was no actual turnover in that game. The Bengals turned it over on downs, which is
defense still made a stop.
Defense stepped up, but just for record's sake, it was a turnover on downs. Bengals went 0-1 on 4th down. 0 fumbles lost for both teams, 0 interceptions thrown.
I think the big thing with this Atlanta team is the defense has shown up.
The
defense has absolutely shown up this year.
I'm shocked. We knew y'all's defense was going to be the bright spot. If you could find one going into the season.
Well, honestly, I don't really agree with that. I mean, we traded away one of our veteran guys for a second round pick. I didn't really agree with that trade at the time, but I mean, the defense has played just as good, if not better, without him there. And it's like it's kind of just like one of those things where it was like an addition by subtraction. Like you get rid of a lot of like negativity, and we'll touch on Matt Ryan obviously later. But you get rid of some of the guys that have been there forever that you couldn't ever really get it done with, and you end up being a better team. Like I think Atlanta this year is better than we were last year. Like I think anybody with eyes can see that.
Yeah.
As far as it's just like the culture too. Like we get a lead, we're keeping the lead. Like this defense is stepping up. When was the last time Atlanta's defense got a turnover to seal a win? Like that's never happened before, other than like 2 weeks ago. So yeah. I'm excited, man. Like and again, we could lose the rest of the way, 4th in the NFC South, and I would still say this is like a little bit better than what I expected.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to be. Yeah, you've exceeded expectations this year, like you have, and I think that's very easy to say.
Amazing to say in week 7.
Yeah,
10 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And not only that, it's like fun football to watch. It's not like
I don't know where this Marcus Mariota was on the Titans.
Well, I think he got complacent in Tennessee because he was the guy. And then,
it became
I think a couple of years off has just kind of relit a fire. I mean, same thing with Tom Brady. You get
right. He's playing with his career on the line. Tom Brady knows he's going to go down as the best quarterback of all time. Marcus Mariota.
He's going to Hall of Fame quarterback, first ballot Hall of Fame. I mean, like he's going to have a 30 for 30 named out. I mean, like he already kind of does, but like he'll have another one. Yeah. I mean, he's the GOAT, and there's nothing really to fight for at this point. So
yeah, I agree. All right,
let's bring Wyatt in. Run over Packers Commanders
in the cave.
The Commanders won 23-21. I am fully on board the tank train. Our defense just cannot seem to get it together in the second half. I don't know what Matt LaFleur is doing in the locker room at halftime, but it is clearly not working. 364 total yards for the Commanders versus our 232. 194 passing yards to 198 for the Commanders, taking the lead on that. We had 36 rushing yards with arguably 2 of the best running backs in the league.
For a top 10 running back in the NFL to have 8 carries on the game total, you're not winning ball games when
we only ran the ball 12 times. We ran the ball 12 times.
You're not winning ball games when your best player is touching the ball 8 times on offense.
You're already on the train.
To be fair, Aaron Jones, he touched the ball 17
this
times.
season.
He did have 9. He had 9 receptions for 53 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he comes through in the receiving game, which is what we've been saying that is going to end up happening because Rodgers has no other receivers to go to. Watkins is out. Romeo Doubs didn't have any.
He had 4
touches.
targets. He had 4 targets and no catches.
Amari Rodgers had 2 catches, and he muffed a punt.
Yeah, Amari Rodgers is not good. I'm surprised he didn't get cut, to be honest with you.
Packers Twitter after this game, Packers Twitter is calling for Amari Rodgers' head. We want him traded before the deadline. I don't even know if the deadline.
He has more career fumbles than he has career receptions.
Oh
yeah,
do you know how bad you have to be?
That's a crazy stat.
Aaron Jones had 2 less receiving yards than our wide receiver 1.
So
Lazard had 6 receptions for 55 yards. Aaron Jones had 9 for 53.
So what is the deal with the seat? Because so like I know we talked a little bit before the show. Like me and Nick's teams, like we're just not good this year. Like we have injuries. Like Nick's team's rebuilding. Like it's just not a good year for us because it's things that we can't control.
Yeah,
your team is healthy. Your team came in like predicted to win a Super Bowl or go to the NFC Championship game. Like this just doesn't look like a normal Packers team, and it's not because you guys don't have Aaron Rodgers healthy or Aaron Jones healthy or your defense isn't, healthy. Your defense is loaded with amazing talent. Like you guys have fantastic personnel on defense, but you can't just blame the wide receivers being bad. Like you can't have a perfect team.
And
this is just not a good team.
No, it's not. We our defense falls apart in the second half. We were leading in that game going into halftime 14-10. Our defense in the third quarter lets the Commanders score 10 points. And then we finally score another touchdown in the fourth. And then the Commanders march down the field and score a field goal in the fourth to take the lead. I don't know what is happening in the locker room with this team at halftime, specifically the defense, but it just falls apart. We saw it during the Minnesota game. The only reason that the Minnesota game was as close as it was because our offense decided to show up and earn their paychecks in the second half. Granted, I've said before I'm done watching NFL this year just because the games have been so bad. So I didn't watch this game. I was getting updates through Twitter.
It looked as bad as Twitter made it sound, I will say. As somebody who watched
we went 0 for 6 on third down.
I think that's kind of your main issue is it's so predictable right now.
It's Bill O'Brien.
It's Bill. I mean, hell, I'm shocked that he isn't coaching up there. He's a perfect fit. You guys should hire him.
No. But do not put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
No, I'm telling you right now. I was watching this game and I sat. I had money on this game. I had Packers -5.5. I don't know.
I could have told you that was a mistake.
Why?
Brother.
Yeah,
but I'll say this: I had money on this game, and I saw it just slipping away slowly. It's one of those where I said it was 1st and 10 on the 25. I was like, all right, Aaron's going deep, first down, incomplete. All right, now they're gonna run it, and it's gonna get 2 yards. Okay, that happened. And then 3rd and 8, you're sitting there like, all right, Aaron, bail us out now. Yep. And he tries to make a play and it doesn't work. It's 3 and out. Like it's so predictable and it's so uncreative in a world where you got, offenses that are running Deebo Samuel as a running back, wide receiver. Like it's one of the, like, you have to be able to adapt. And it doesn't seem like, Green Bay has adapted in the last decade. So I think it's finally catching up to you because Aaron Rodgers isn't the guy. Like he isn't the guy like he was 6 years ago. You know what I mean?
Like it was last year. I mean, he was that guy last year.
He won an MVP.
Yeah. If I'm Green Bay, I am trying to move heaven and earth to go get Jerry Jeudy from Denver.
I would love that. We're one of the few teams interested in trading for Jeudy.
You go give up a first. Go because there's not going to be a wide receiver this year that's as good as Jerry Jeudy, and you get
Absolutely
a guy, and then you go and then you sign Odell in November. You sign those 2 guys. You bring them in. You have to make a splash. You have to do something. This team is just it looks like they don't even want to be there. I mean, it's just like the body language on this team is just so dead.
One of the biggest things, especially you're talking about body language on defense. Coming into this season, Jair, number 2 corner in the league. He has not played to that outside of week 1 against Minnesota. He's getting burned. He's got to figure it out. I think it's more like a Eli Ricks situation where he needs to get his confidence back.
Yeah.
Came off an injury. Get that going. But other than that, I think the biggest thing is losing Z to the Vikings. If Z goes anywhere else, I don't think it's as big as an impact on our defensive morale as his move to Minnesota. Because he's basically saying, look, I played here for however many years, and I'm going to go to your biggest division rival and
give you hell.
I don't care.
Yeah. And right now, probably win the NFC North.
I told y'all after that Minnesota game week 1 that we were not winning the North.
Yeah.
It's
nuts.
I will say, I'm going to take a little bit of, because I am still an optimist. I don't know how, but I am still an optimist on this team. And, I'm not completely on the tank train yet, although the lower that draft pick gets and the more reality that, we might actually get a Jordan Addison or somebody, good, I might start to change my mind. But I will say, I thought the defense played actually pretty good Sunday. Devondre Campbell had his best game.
We lost
Timeout.
to Heineke, bro.
Devondre Campbell had his best game of the season after not looking near as what he was last year for the first 6 weeks. I thought Quay Walker had his best game of the season. The secondary was not – they were bad. They were not awful. Jair really was not that bad other than that last play to Terry McLaurin that, really sealed the win.
I think the point that he's trying to make, Bond, is like y'all
the pieces
they
are
played
there.
good enough to win that game. The offense was just
the pieces are
terrible.
there. Devondre Campbell and Quay Walker can be a really great duo. The pass rush should be, phenomenal when there's, Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, and Kenny Clark on the field, and even Jaron Reed. If Taylor Heineke takes another half second to throw the ball on probably over half of his passes, they're forced incompletions or they're a sack because the pass rush gets right there. And then the secondary makes a breakdown somewhere. And I don't know if it's, we need a secondary change, move Jair to the slot permanent full-time or fix the safeties. But a change has to be made somewhere. But for the most part, the pieces they're right there.
We have the pieces. We just can't put them together.
It's just not clicking. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. We need to move on. We need to run through these last two games. Let's start with the Chiefs 49ers. Chiefs 529 total yards of offense. Patrick Mahomes show once again, 417 passing yards. 49ers did have 444 total yards, 343 passing yards, which is out of pocket for the 49ers. Chiefs win 44-23.
Look, Patrick Mahomes is right now, I would say him and Jalen Hurts are MVP right now. I thought when they lost Tyreek Hill, I was like, oh man, this is going to be a rough. I don't know how, but I think he's better because he's not relying on Tyreek Hill so much. Like he is just fantastic. I mean, 423 yards. And it's not like he's playing a scrub team. He's playing the 49ers. They have a fantastic defense. Like they're legit. And then, of course, Travis Kelce on National Tight End Day, 6 catches, 98 yards. You couldn't stop him. Juju Smith-Schuster, coming together, coming to his own. He had over 100 yards. Valdez-Scantling, he had over 100 yards. They're just starting to finally kind of click and figure it out.
Yeah.
And look, the AFC West is not nearly as good as we thought it would be this year. Like Denver has
absolutely
been
not. Denver's bad.
Russell
Russell Wilson needs to. I don't know how he got that contract, but
to be fair, Russell has been consistent for years. Even last year, after he came back from injury, he was still decent. I just don't know what is going on with that team. It's kind of like the Packers. Like on paper, they should be a 12-win team, but in reality, there's no chemistry at all, and you can't fake that. But Kansas City looks like these guys have been playing together for years because they have been playing together for years. And Patrick Mahomes is a good enough quarterback to make any wide receiver elite. And Jimmy Garoppolo, man, it's like there's nothing special about this guy. He is going to put up enough numbers to stay in the league. And then that is it. This guy will not win you a championship. But Christian McCaffrey, though, I thought it was interesting that you get a guy like this. And I know he just got traded on Thursday and he plays on Saturday, but he plays on Sunday. But if you're playing the Kansas City Chiefs and you have one of the best running backs in the NFL, you got to give him more than 8 touches. You have to. He had 8 carries. I mean, he did have 2 catches for 22 yards. So it's like he got 10 total touches. I'm like, you got to give this guy the ball because Kansas City will score at will, and they did score at will.
All right. Let's move on to Dolphins Steelers. Second half snooze fest. 0 points scored in the second half.
This game was so bad.
Fins total yards 372, Tua win 21-35 for 261 and a touchdown. Steelers 341 total yards. But we gotta talk about Kenny Pickett. 3 interceptions.
I got 2 things to say about this game. One, I'm glad Tua is back. Glad he's healthy. It's good to see him back on the field. This Miami team is so much better when he plays. And 2, Kenny Pickett's Blaine Gabbert
Not
2.0.
him.
He's not him. I mean, dude, you have a chance to win the game. You're driving. You're doing well. Like, you can win this game. You have arguably one of the best all-purpose running backs, Najee Harris, and you decide to chuck up a ball in the end zone that has no shot of making it to your guy. And that's how you lose the game?
I think that's just to chalk it up to a rookie mistake on that one. I mean, that was just like a panic throw. Steelers, I think, are still a pretty good team. They're just a quarterback away, truly. I mean, defense is good enough that they obviously have a running back. Their offensive line actually isn't horrible. They have if they have Geno Smith at quarterback, they probably win that game by 10 points.
All right.
Yeah.
To round out the show, first, Jaguars have just traded James Robinson to New York Jets to replace Breece Hall.
So now it's the ETN show in Duval. There you go.
Yes. And Matt Ryan benched for the season with the Colts staff coming out and saying that his arm is shot.
Whew, that's rough, Nick. I know that one's gotta hurt for you.
Kind of tough. That's a tough one.
I know it's tough. It's tough watching a guy you grew up watching just like not have it anymore.
Yeah.
And I like Matt Ryan. I've had nothing but respect for Matt Ryan, especially playing against him twice a year for over a decade. And he's a good quarterback, former MVP. He should have a Super Bowl. Like it's unfortunate to see like the guys we grew up with now starting to trend down. So, but hey, Sam Ehlinger, we're back.
Well, so the other thing with Matt Ryan is like you want to gloat. You know what I mean? You want to gloat and be like, oh, you thought you could go off and win a Super Bowl with the Colts, which, I mean, everybody and their mom picked them as Super Bowl favorites this year because they had the running back, they had the offensive line, their defense was good enough, and they were finally getting that quarterback that, could really take them to the next level. But, you want to gloat and you want to say, oh, you ran off to go do bigger and better things when, it was a better situation actually in Atlanta for some reason. So, but I think, like I said earlier, addition by subtraction. I think Matt Ryan was probably the player holding the Falcons back the last couple of years. I think probably, I hate to say it, but like, good riddance.
Yeah, it's tough. All right, well, that's going to wrap up this episode. We'll be back later this week with our preview episode. You can find me online at The Real Cruise Ox on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you're following the Oxford Podcast on all socials. Like and subscribe too. Yeah, we love all the interaction. And of course, follow Boot Crew Media because they're awesome.
Nick?
All right, yeah, just drop a follow at nperkins96. Good week on Twitter. Always tons of fun. So appreciate all the love and support.
You had some bangers this week.
I did have some bangers. Couple ones with right at 1,000. So that was pretty slick. But Bond, let them know what you got on TikTok going.
You can follow me on Twitter at bondsnow_, and then another good week on TikTok between me and Nick. We're up another 150 followers or so. So appreciating the interaction over there, and let's bring Wyatt back for his.
You can follow me on Twitter at FultonW_. Follow the Oxford Podcast on Twitter. We've been having some really good tweets, great interactions. We appreciate you guys.
So really quick shout out to Wyatt. Just passed 2K, didn't you, this week, buddy? Right? Didn't you pass 2K this week?
No,
on your personal?
No, the Oxcord passed 5,000.
I'm in 5K. That's what I meant. Oxcord 5K. My bad. I'm very tired. Apparently,
I'm almost finally at 10K. By the way, almost there.
Oh my god! Next thing is the blue check mark, dude. We gotta gotta work on that.
That'll never happen.
Hey, whoa!
Whoa!
Okay, well, damn. All right.
Okay,
well,
wait. Also, really quick, is Matt Ryan benched for good, or is it just this week?
No, Sam Ehlinger is the rest of the season.
He's not even second string QB. He's third string.
Nick Foles is second string.
Jesus Christ.
Well, we love you guys, and we will see you later this week.